Coming to you live from the home studio they paid way too much to build. The one and only husband and wife duo who've never had a fight. Yeah, right. Your hosts for the talk of Southwest Florida, Tim and Ed Ryan.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 1 of the Talk of Southwest Florida. You know, it's kind of a spinoff of our Beach Talk radio show on Fort Myers Beach, you know, because Fort Myers Beach just isn't big enough to hold us down.
Your ego. Yeah, it is what it is.
We'll tell you a little bit more about the show, but first we want to get right to our guest because it's a very special guest that we have to start off the show. It's his first interview since running for the Lee County School Board. It's Jason Big Mama Jones. Jason, how are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me today. It's great to be here.
Appreciate it. And we know that you're getting ready to head on over to Riverdale for some football. It's always great to have Friday night football in a community. It brings everybody together, so that's kind of cool. What do you do over there for Riverdale?
This is my third year being the varsity announcer for varsity football. I do all their home games. I like to tell everybody they pay me in nachos and Gatorade.
Very cool. So
I have to say, you look like you have a much better studio than us.
You would never believe what I got going on here. This is the hub operation of many different units of our business in our life. My wife runs a sports card a business, and then I run an event business plus a digital business, and so we're constantly running.
Now, Jason, for folks that don't know, not only did you run for school board, you were the morning show host at B103 here in Southwest Florida for Beasley for 13, 14 years, a long time, very popular. The first question I wanted to ask you was, why did you decide to run for the school board?
Well, that's really easy to answer, Ed. It's all because of my daughter. You know, I've got a daughter who's in middle school. I'm seeing what's going on at the school board meetings. As a concerned parent, I went to a school board meeting because that's what I was worried about, what was going on. I didn't go there with any political agenda. I didn't go there ready to talk anything about way to change things. I wanted answers. And when I showed up, there were many more parents just like me. And I realized after watching the dysfunctional board that we have now that it wasn't going to work out without getting a parent on the board. Unfortunately, I did come in top 2. I'm not going to general, but this is my first run. It means a lot to me. Southwest Florida means a lot to me. Lee County is my heart and my love.
Was running for the school board harder than you thought?
It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I will say the most time-consuming thing you'll ever do in your life without getting paid is running for office. You'll find yourself working 13, 14-hour days that there's no paycheck at the end. You're just trying to win, and it consumes you, and it's very exciting. I said this to somebody. I've been in radio for 27 years. This is just as exciting as it was back in the 90s of radio. That's what politics is.
I just wanted to say, there's, as you mentioned, there's other parents, there's lots of kids in this district. There's lots of parents. So but not all of them decided to run. So besides your daughter, was there any other impetus? Were you encouraged by other folks?
No, I didn't get encouraged. I wasn't backed by the establishment. I wasn't out there just trying. I was just out there, and you know what I said? I said, I think I'm going to go for this because I believe it's the right thing to do. And as things unfolded, and I moved on from the radio show, I realized that somewhere God had a calling for me, and if this was it, this is where it is. I'm not 100% sure that my calling isn't somewhere within this. I believe that we need to have a strong voice for the school board of Lee County and make sure that we get things done and that we're not just electing people that have good mouthpieces.
Why do you say the school board is dysfunctional? What is your criticism with what's going on there?
Well, I got to tell you, when you go and watch a school board meeting, and you don't even have to go, you can legitimately go on YouTube and watch it. Everybody watching right now, you can go watch it right there. You're going to see 7 people that aren't really out with the same agenda, and the only agenda should be the kids and where we're taking to the future of our education, how we're going to make sure that we take the $1.9, now $2 billion budget that the Lee County School has and make sure that we're not overspending on things and stop the out the outright just robbing of the school board. There are people out there that get paid triple, 3 times, 4 times what the average cost is on everyday items. And I guarantee I wasn't popular by saying that when I went on the air and I said to the world, and or on this, even right now, saying it to you, it's not a popular thing to say, hey, I don't want those contractors out there charging us $800,000 for a roof repair. That's $125,000 to the guy next door.
Got it. So, Jason, did you know beforehand? Because on the air, you deal with a lot of people that you interview, people that you talk to. When you're on the radio, you're kind of a you're kind of a star. It's part of show business, and you get to know a lot of people. You're doing a lot of remotes. You're involved in a lot of things in the community. Did you know it was a machine the way it is? If the machine picks you in Lee County, you have a great chance of being the person that gets on whatever board or commission, or it's
Yeah.
it's a solid machine in this county.
It is a solid machine. And I'm not saying that we can't make great moves as that, but we also, when we talk about the machine, I don't know necessarily what you mean when you say the machine, but there is a machine that runs that spent its time coming after, me instead of after the other opponents, if that's the machine you speak of. But to me personally, I think we have a great political base here in Lee County. I think what we have in Lee County is probably the strongest political base of any county in Florida. We've got great leadership here in Southwest Florida, and it was a pleasure being amongst all of them.
Do you think the superintendent should be an elected position?
Wow, you know what? I'm not going to be popular when I say this, but I'm going to say if it was an elected position, what you're telling me is that it should be somebody here in Lee County, right? So we should have a superintendent that's qualified right here in Lee County. Now, when we put it on the ballot, I could run for superintendent. Now, I'll look you
Yeah.
dead in the eyes and everybody watching this that I am not qualified to be the superintendent of the school board. But I'm going to tell you, you never know. Somebody like me could win. Now, that's not what the case has been. We have never been able to find a school board or a superintendent for Lee County Schools that lived right here in Southwest Florida. We do these searches and then we move them here and we pay an astronomical amount of moving expenses. In theory, it sounds right, but because you want the voters to choose what goes down, and when it comes down to it in November, the voters will choose whether or not we have an elected superintendent. But
Right.
but keep that in mind when you're going to the ballots for the elected superintendent, that we have never chose a Lee County resident as the superintendent. Like, oh, you know what? My neighbor, that's the guy, that's the girl. We want to bring her on in. And they've never found that person. They're like, well, we found this person in West Palm Beach. We found this person in Texas, and they're perfect for the job. So if that was the case, then we would have had a monstrous amount of applications and possibilities, and even previous superintendents from Lee County.
Got it. Do you support any of the two candidates now running? Do you is it 2 seats? 1 seat? I don't know
There's
how
two
many-
people running. There's two people
Yeah.
running in the
1 seat.
district that I'm sitting in right now, Dan Severson and Debbie Jordan. And I have no problem based on the stances of those two to let you know that I 100% believe that Dan Severson will get that job.
What about the one with Jada and Debbie Nystrom? Who do you pick there?
You got Jada Langford and Denise Nystrom. And let me just tell you what you have here when you got here. You have somebody who knows everything about that school board, Denise Nystrom. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, oh, look. They'll take every word that we say here and we'll say something. Denise Nystrom knows everything that goes on that school board. I mean, every single thing currently going on in the school board. There's no better person you could ask to have that job. But Jada's the one who has the machine behind her. She's got that machine that you spoke of way behind her. She's got a lot of knowledge. She's a former teacher. She'll be great if she's elected. But for me personally, Denise Nystrom, I believe, will be the one. And I don't have, you know what? I'm not going to be the most popular guy by saying that. And I don't mind saying it. I believe that she's going to be the one who wins that, unless you see a change out of the Langford camp. She's going to have to do more than just be out there. She's going to have to be a participant on what's going on a daily basis, just like Denise Nystrom is.
I just wanted to go back a minute. When
All
you
right.
were talking earlier, were you suggesting that you were targeted or unfairly targeted throughout this campaign?
I don't think I was unfairly targeted. I think I was targeted because I was a threat to the win. You know,
Okay.
they have to go after that. You know, it's a compliment to say that they're going to come after somebody who's never ran in politics before. They had nothing to say at all about Debbie Jordan. Not one. I got dogs. Somebody might be at my
Let's go to
door.
Wade.
So do we.
It's
We're
gonna
just
happen.
waiting. We're just waiting for it to happen.
So the deal is there. It's like you gotta understand that I don't know. Some
What kind of dog you got, Jason?
I've
What
got
kind of dog
two.
is it?
I got a cockapoo and a cocker spaniel.
Oh, cockapoo.
so
You
no,
shouldn't even say that word.
I don't think I was targeted by any means for any other reason than that I had a great campaign, I had a great message, I had a great name, and people were ready to listen to me. And I still think I have all of those things.
You're gonna run again for something?
You never know where I might go next. I'll tell you this though. I'll tell you this. It was a moment for me to sit back, relax, and a lot of people were like, "Well, where did he go?" I'm not walking away from anything. I'm taking a break and spending some time with my family. I feel like my family needs that, so I took a little break, spent some time with my family. And when you called me, Ed, I loved being on your beat show. I'll do this too, man. I think you got a great concept going on here, and it was a pleasure to be on it. So that's why I wanted to swing by.
Thank you. When you decided to run, did you think originally that if you didn't win, you'd still be on the show? I mean, the show was incredibly popular for so long, and you tweeted something out or you put something on Facebook that said the full story will come out. Has the full story come out yet?
The full story hasn't come out, and I would say that for legal reasons that it hasn't come out yet. I'm not currently employed with anybody in Southwest Florida's radio station market. I'm 43 days away from the expiration of a non-compete. Not to say that I know that number, but that's where it is. And I am fully aware of the situation in the market. But you know what's funny? I might end up doing what you're doing right here. You know,
Yeah.
I've been exploring the
no.
options of doing something just like this and being able to be able to talk about what I want to talk about. That's why
Yeah.
I don't mind sitting on here. I'm not running for office, so who I care about, it's great to tell you because I've been in the middle of it. I've seen the monster as we speak, but more importantly, is I've seen the operation of a great political circle right here in Southwest Florida. Win, lose, or draw. I think we got a winner in District 6. I think that's what we need to think about. We've got
Now,
a great leader going in District 6.
I know we got two minutes left and you got to run. The having the connection that you've built up over 13 or 14 years with an audience on the radio. Radio takes a bad rap because of the number of commercials they play and the whole thing, but still people love their local hosts when they're local. People love their local hosts on the radio. You
I
got to
agree.
miss that. You got to miss that.
You don't. I do miss it. I have to tell you, I love being the person that wakes up Southwest Florida. I loved everything about Southwest Florida. I have no ill will towards anyone, and I think the number one thing. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. I think the number one thing for everyone to understand is that if given the opportune, let me take that back. Given the perfect opportunity, I would more than welcome jump back on the air in Southwest Florida. I don't even care what time it was. I enjoy doing radio in Southwest Florida. I feel like there's no format off limits to me. I feel like I've done a plethora of different formats, so I feel like you never know where I might be. I might be on a pop station. I might be on a rock station. I might be on a talk station. I might be on a country station. You never know where I might end up.
I think you'd be on a country station if I was a betting man. There's one in town that doesn't have a morning show right now, but what do I know?
Yeah,
You need to let him go before he gets that
I know.
shepherd's hook around
is that
your
your
neck.
wife yelling at you? We got
Oh, no. That's my buddy that's getting ready to ride to the game with me, man.
All
So
right,
we got to
cool.
make sure we get to the game and get on time, set up sound, and have a great time because
Yeah.
it's going to be another Raider touchdown.
Any parting words for the audience, man? And thank you so much for coming on.
I will
100.
say this. I will say make sure because only 25% of the registered voters went out and voted in our primary. 1/4 of the people that were eligible to vote decided on who your clerk of courts is. Do you understand that? That was decided right there. So it was decided right there. You decided judges' races right there. And there was one Lee County school board seat where Armored Persons is your new school board member based on 25% of voter turnout. That is just something we need to fix in Lee County. So make sure you go out and vote in November. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, man.
You can find me on social media at Big Mama Radio. You guys have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Jason.
Bye.
Big Mama Jones. We appreciate it. He's on his way to Riverdale to cover the football game there. And we've got an action-packed show here on episode number 1.
That voice is just so distinctive.
Yeah, everybody knows that voice. It's well known in the Southwest Florida.
I know. We're going to be in trouble if he gets into podcasting. We got to.
Well, yeah. I mean, I sent him a message as we await our second and third guest. We actually have 3 guests today. I sent him a message saying, listen, you've got a big audience. You've got a huge audience. People will follow you. I mean, when you get a chance to do it without having to play 12 or 13 commercials an hour, which is a radio's big rap, and you can tell that he doesn't need a sidekick or 3 other people, although that would, I'm sure, make it entertaining. But he has a lot to say. Yeah, he has a lot to say about the local community, and that's what most people that are living in their community want to hear about. They don't want to hear about things that are national. They can watch CNN or Fox unless they want to hear what's going on in London, which is the big news.
I know, the Queen.
God save the Queen, or is it God save the King, or what's it? What is it? What is that saying?
I think it's God save.
Poor Charles, by the way. He's in his 70s now. He was waiting for her to keel over for how long?
He abdicate his.
No, not Charles. He's the king now. No, he's the king.
Don't you? Son, isn't it?
It's whose son, dear? It's whose son?
The son.
No, Charles is now the king.
We need somebody to weigh in on that.
No, Charles is the king right now. It has nothing to do with Camilla or Princess Diana or anything like that. He is the king, and he's in his 70s. So she was the queen back when who was it? Churchill was the prime minister. That's how long she's been the queen.
Sue, I need you to fact check.
Please. All right, folks. Coming up, we have Theresa Everly from the Lee County Homeless Coalition, because they have a huge event coming up for the homeless in October
7th.
And we also have the executive director of Ding Darling's Wildlife Society coming up to talk about the
Roost.
The Roost. I don't know what the Roost is, but we would like to tell you that.
I think it's like an open air type amphitheater that they're going to install there, that they're going to build there in addition to their education center.
When I was talking to the folks to set up the
big people are messaging you because they can't get the links. That's what I'm worried about.
No, when I was Mark Wright, yes, he is the king. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Charles is the king. I mean,
I really thought he passed on that.
Why? Because he has a new wife or something? You think there's some rule like that? No, you must be thinking of the kids. You're thinking of the kids. By the way, we do have a Twitter page. I don't know if anyone cares about Twitter. We're on Twitter at the Talk of SWFL. And the goal with the show is to be informational and entertaining.
All right.
I'll be the entertaining part. She'll be the informational part. And it's going to be more of Lee County and everything that's going on in Southwest Florida, not just politics. But we asked Jason to be on because, he just finished up a race for the school board, and we didn't even get a chance to talk about his new business. He has a new business where he's doing events called Big Events or Big Mama Events or something like that. He's got some big thing going on there. So, all right. And that's enough about our show, but we're now going to plug in Theresa Everly. Theresa, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Very nice. Very nice. We appreciate you jumping on here. And now, where are you?
Actually on Fort Myers Beach. How about
Get
that?
out of here!
Yeah. I'm actually been coming down to Fort Myers Beach since the goodness gracious, the early 80s into Snug Harbor. So it's our week at Snug Harbor this week.
Very nice. Very nice. And the weather is beautiful. You getting some rain down there?
No, but it was almost hurricane gust winds. I'm guessing it was incredible earlier.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
no rain, but incredible winds.
Well,
where are you planning to go out to eat?
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, there's
Good
so
question, dear. Good question.
there's so many amazing options, even right where you are. I mean,
You see, Holly Smith says now,
I know
Therese, my
she didn't.
wife, she's not really the most intelligent one of the family. I have to take over the brain power here, but we were talking about the king and the queen. I don't know if you heard, but the queen passed away. Charles is the king now, like the
I
son,
thought
right?
he had passed
Yeah.
on that.
She thought because they went the whole Camilla thing and the Princess Diana fight that he wasn't gonna, like, they passed by him. Is that what you thought?
Yeah. Well, I thought he said no, I don't want it because
I
I'm
don't
going to
think
be
you can
with
do
her.
that, can you, Therese? I don't think you're allowed to just say I pass.
No, I actually, having lived across the pond for several years and going to school over there, I actually
Wow.
thought, yeah, I actually did think that he was not going to be offered that seat way back
Thank
in the
you.
day. So you were right. That was actually a thing at one point. But I think
Go
as
for
years
you, dear.
went on, they must have just decided that they were okay with Charles
Yeah.
and Camilla. So,
And you know,
Hey, I'm fine with it. I don't care. I just
oh,
thought
me
that
too. Yeah.
that was like, you know,
I'm
he
totally
passed on.
fascinated by the people that are fascinated by a monarchy. It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
The whole king and queen thing. It's the whole regalia, the whole thing.
You know, and our country was built on breaking away from the monarchy, which is the craziest thing. So, Therese, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time.
We'll
And
We'll get to the Lee County Homeless Coalition now.
trying to be funny there. I was
You're not that
Never
funny. So tell us about your what's upcoming.
no, well, dear, we have a list of questions that I sent her, so you should, I'm preparing here. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Wow.
We're very amateur operation here, Therese, by the way. So tell us what the Lee County Homeless Coalition is.
So the Lee County Homeless Coalition is a nonprofit. It's a 501c3 that was formed in 2009. It originally actually was originally a nonprofit for a short spell, then closed down for whatever that reason was, and it became a part of Lee County Human and Veteran Services. And then they said, it'd be wiser if this was, again, its own private nonprofit. And in 2009, it was originally founded with the executive director, Janet Bartos, who just retired officially a year ago this month. So I stepped into the role September 1 of last year.
Great. And so you've been there for a year. What are some of the services that you can tell us that the organization provides?
So we exist, the coalition exists to serve its members, and its members are agencies that work with the homeless directly. It is advocacy groups that work with the homeless. It's faith communities. It's individual advocates, and we have just a little over 500 members, and from different varying degrees of engagement within what we call the continuum of care, the homeless continuum of care, which is actually a term that the federal government uses. So that's how people access homeless services, how they get through the system of care to end the cycle of homelessness. The goal is to make it rare, brief, and one time.
So do folks that are in need of your services come to you, or do they come through one of those other agencies?
So they primarily come through one of the other agencies. However, on an average, I deal with approximately 90 to 100 clients a month myself. My predecessor did the same. My background is I've worked in social services or volunteered in Lee County since we moved here in the late 70s. My family's always been involved in some capacity around social services. So it comes natural for me just to step right into that role when people call and they need assistance.
So what do you think the numbers are in Lee County, Theresa? Is it growing? Is the number of homeless, is it stable? What can you tell us that, sometimes you just see on TV a shot of a few tents here and there, and it's a short report, but what can you tell us about How many homeless are in Lee County that you know of, and how do you feel like the county's dealing with it?
So, counting the let's just start with one of the things that the coalition does every year, because we are, like someone once described us as like the chamber of commerce of homeless service providers and faith communities that work in that group. So one of the tasks that we do every year, and it is required by the federal government, is to do a point in time. It's an annual census of those experiencing homelessness. It's done the last month of January, over about 4 days. This is the past January. We coordinated 84 volunteers to various sites all over the county. I was really proud of the work that we were able to do on Fort Myers Beach with our walking teams. We had an experienced leader lead these teams. They met up at the Walmart up on Summerlin there in Estero, and then they came over the bridge here, parked in Times Square, walked the gas stations, walked the different areas that the outreach workers had identified over the past 12 months as to where most likely those would congregate. At that point, there is a survey done, and we find out, their story. How can we connect you with services, and what are the gaps in the community? So that's the purpose of that. Now, how that survey works is not something we get to adjust here locally. It's a federal requirement. So it is where you basically slept one night. Like, I believe this year we went to statistically to January 26th. So this year in 2022, during that point in time survey, there was 560 people identified in Lee County sleeping that night that were homeless. Last year it was 394. But in full disclosure of that, COVID had an impact on that. The federal government said counties didn't have to do the census count, but Lee County, we didn't want to do that. Our members, we said, let's make an effort to still do the count. We don't want to skip a year. So, but it was a little bit challenging because not everybody wanted to get out and volunteer. It's only as good as our volunteers and members that want to get out and do this work. It's not easy work. And so the 2021 numbers of 394 were most likely, statistically speaking, higher than that. So to say we went from 394 to 560 seems like a high jump. But right. In 2020, it was 441. So I just think we're seeing a steady increase. I don't think there was an actual dip in 2021. It's just because it was an abbreviated count. So that, if you're just looking at that snapshot and using the methodology the federal government says we have to use, it definitely is on the rise. And we have actually Lee County Human and Veteran Services houses what's called the Homeless Management Information System. And that is another requirement that collects the data on those that are accessing services. And that number continues to rise year over year of people accessing services. So in 2021, that number was just over about 2,700. And in 2022, people accessing the services were just over 3,400. So that's a statistically, a significant increase in that.
Theresa, when you said 394, was for 2021?
Correct.
Well, how many were Fort Myers Beach?
So I don't have that in front of me. Okay. That is, as you
right.
can imagine, the county is very vast. So, and Lee County COC, as it's called, the Continuum of Care of Lee County, which is all of us that are working in this space. The coalition co-leads with Lee County Human and Veteran Services. And we do the advocacy side of it, the convening side of it, the census side of it, but they do the funding and get the access to the data and house the housing management information, homeless management information system, excuse me. And so I'm sorry, I just lost your question. I apologize.
How many were on Fort Myers Beach? But if you don't have the number.
No. So we just, and it's quite progressive that this past year, we went primarily all to using a phone app. For years, it's been a paper survey. So you can imagine getting GPS coordinates, locations was very difficult to do. So in 2021, I believe it was launched, but not everyone used it. Now this year, primarily, it was everybody used this GIS mapping. So this is new work that we're looking at as far as deploying services where the needs are. So I'm excited about watching the evolution of that as we move forward to be able to specifically target the areas that we identify are hotspots.
Can you tell us a little bit about the face of homelessness? Because, people see chronic homeless folks, and then there's a whole other side, especially with the advent of inflation and everything going on, that people are really seem to be falling off, off what they can manage because things are so expensive. Are you seeing that here?
Oh, that's absolutely what we're seeing. Actually, Lee County has done an incredible job. The COC has done a great job with year over year consistently decreasing the amount of chronic homeless, which, as you can imagine, would come with a lot more challenges. These folks have been through a lot of different traumas, and they're very complex cases. So the good news is the chronic homeless number is on the decline. But to your point, this robust economy is fantastic for us. We're so grateful for this great economy, but what comes with that is the affordability to live here.
Yeah.
And I work closely with my counterpart in Collier County, and in Lee County over the last year, approximately 40, I believe it's 47 or 48% of the people that accessed our homeless management information system were first-time homeless in how it works in a 3-year window. It's just, again, this is required by the government, how this is counted. And so many of them can self-resolve with some assistance, some minor assistance. And that's another thing that we do at the coalition. We try to raise money to fill in those gaps that other grant funding does not cover. And so in Collier County, spot on at 50%. So that newly homeless number, I don't think is a surprise to any of us. I just was on a call about 15 minutes ago from one of our agency partners working with 3 specific cases of one of our larger employers in the community where all 3 worked full time and all 3 were homeless. So all 3 were living in their cars. And, I've had a young mom show up at my office with her child, and she still had her uniform on from her job, and the little boy was quite full of energy, and then I found out they've been living in their car, so of course he's going to be full of energy at 5 years old. And so those are tough cases. So a lot of what I spend time doing is advocacy and talking to policymakers around how what we do about this attainable housing situation. And, the hot topic these days is workforce housing. So what does workforce look like? Well, workforce is all those folks. They're the people that are, I'm looking out my window here. It's the people that work at the restaurants. It is people that make our economy move. They're all, you can't say only teachers or policemen or firemen. Everybody is workforce. So we got to be really keenly aware of what is happening to our workforce and that they're not leaving this area because of the inability to afford the rents.
Do you think that, you talked about, I think you said 500 members that, are out there providing, are there enough services? Are more needed? Are people accessing them effectively? What can you say about that?
So I think that there's unequivocally, there needs to be more services. When the need's greater, you need more services. And, the number one thing you want to do when somebody has been recognized as being homeless is you want to get them in out of the elements while you work through that system to get to permanent housing. It takes time to get there. So we could definitely benefit from more shelter beds. So those that don't want to be living in their car or in a tent have a place to be. Our family homeless shelter in Lee County consistently has a waiting list. It's the exact same thing in Collier County, and I'm on statewide calls, and I have not heard. There's 27, I believe, COCs in the state of Florida, and we're all saying the same thing. So I'm not so sure they all have shelter issues, but one of the major issues we're all seeing is getting landlords that are willing to rent to the clients that come through this system, right? So what we're seeing is, they have these vouchers. Like, for example, next week, I believe it's the 16th, that the City of Fort Myers Housing Authority is taking applications for a lot of the vouchers. And that's a big deal for people that struggle to make their rent. It doesn't often open, and it's only when the government releases the funds to do so. But what we struggle with is they say, for example, say the apartment, this voucher is for $1,100 for this family. Well, the landlord says, well, my place is worth $1,500 a month. The voucher won't allow the landlord to charge the 15. That the landlord has to charge the 1,100. So if you're a landlord, and by the way, I've had my real estate license since I was 19, and I understand the rental market, and it does ebb and flow in Lee County. I've been in it since then, and but we've never seen the dramatic increase that we're seeing, right? So while the vouchers did get an adjustment upwards to the fair market rent, what the federal government says that's clearly not what's happening here. So, just trying to develop that pipeline of landlords that would be willing to rent to these clients.
So, Theresa, you think how much of the homeless, from your experience, is mental illness?
Oh, it's a significant part. Behavioral mental health is a significant part. There's so many, sure, there could be some with severe mental illness, absolutely. And they're out there. But there's also some that just have complex traumas. It's just one trauma after another. And they have a hard time getting themselves back up again, and one client comes to mind right now, and she's back in the woods again. And she actually was housed and then could not get a job that would support the rent. And, so she goes to work every day and goes back into the woods. And, but she's, trying to get as much support around her as possible. But there's always these trust issues, so that depression, anxiety, all of those things that come with that experiencing homelessness. It's difficult. It's very difficult. I try to focus on, right now what we're seeing is, the families, the number of people with children experiencing homelessness. That was an increase we saw this year. That's a really, really tough one. And so I do a lot of time on the phone, or if they show up at the office, trying to prevent that trauma on the children, trying to talk to the mom or the dad about, what resources we have that perhaps could allow the children not to experience that trauma while mom or dad get back on their feet. I refer to an organization called Better Together, who hosts children. It's a foster diversion program. I just so happen to personally know the CEO. She's a dear friend. So when I have the opportunity to actually look at, this mom, or I had a dad that called, and we spoke over a couple of days. And, so let's get the children safe, and then they'll wrap around you to help you get your job and get back up on your feet again. So it's another one of our.
We're speaking with Theresa Everly, the Lee County Homeless Coalition Executive Director. And go ahead, Dan.
No, I wanted to ask, we've talked a lot about services that are in reaction to when someone, is experiencing homelessness. What can be done proactively out there to kind of mitigate this before it happens or right at the beginning? Are there programs out there? Are there any things
Yeah.
legislatively that can go on?
So homeless prevention, that's how I see this. This is a two-prong approach. While we have to help those unequivocally that are experiencing homelessness, if we can't stave off the flow of people at risk from becoming homeless, it's just going to be a bigger tsunami. So homeless prevention, actually, Lee County Human and Veteran Services has a homeless prevention program where people can access rental assistance, first last month's rent, utility assistance through that program. That number is 239-533-7900. There is grant money. Let me go back. There is, when we do that count determines how much money comes into our what we call Lee County Continuum of Care, which is Lee County Human and Veteran Services. It's my organization and all the members that are apply for funding for these dollars, and Lee County Human and Veteran Services allocates those dollars, but we vote on who gets those dollars. It's a very democratic process of the members that rank the projects and decide close to $2 million that comes in for these types of services. So one that just jumps into my head right off, because I can't possibly think of all of the different agencies, but like, for example, Lee County Housing Development Corp. They do foreclosure education. They help for prevention of being evicted. Another one is the Affordable Homeownership Foundation. They have just stood up a great program where they are launching a good tenant education course, because some folks just don't really understand what their responsibility is to be a good tenant. And then we got the coalition got the Florida Rural Legal Services involved, so that we know what the landlord's responsibility is and we know what the tenant's responsibility is. And then the tenant takes the course and they get a certificate. They now know how to be a good tenant. So that will also help them not become homeless, right? Because there's varying degrees of understanding what it means to be a tenant.
So you have a big event coming up in October. Let's shift gears to that, because we want people to go to that. We want people to experience that. Tell us exactly what it is.
Well, thank you for that. So this is our number one fundraiser of the year. The money's raised with this. We give community grants out to the agencies like the ones I just mentioned to actually fill in the gaps that these grants and other funding mechanisms do not fund. And we also use the funds to buy bus passes for those under case management, just a plethora of things that we do to make things just better for those that are working in the space and directly help those that are homeless or at risk for homelessness. So our event is our 17th annual dinner and auction, and it is at the Crown Plaza on October 7th from 6 to 10 p.m. Peter Bush is our MC. Congressman Byron Donalds will be our keynote speaker. We also give out what's called the annual Servant Leadership Award, where we celebrate the stories of all the agencies and advocates that work in the community and provide a much treasured award for those folks that work in this space. So
Who's getting the award?
Pardon me?
Who's getting the award?
Oh, I can't tell you that. That's announced tonight. As a matter of fact, nominations just closed today at 4:00. Cool. So everyone's going to be notified next week of who's been nominated, and then we do the big reveal the night of the award. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, I don't think you said where it's going to be. It's going. Did you say? Or I'm just old and I forgot already.
That's okay. It's the Crown Plaza Bell Tower. Yep,
Mhm.
October 7th. If anyone is interested in information, purchasing tickets, you can go to leehomeless.org and it'll be there on our front page, or you can click on the events link to find more information. And you can always reach out to us at info@leehomeless.org.
And how much are the tickets?
The tickets for non-members are 95, and for members, they are 85.
Great. Well, we will keep pushing it out, and we'll see you there because we plan on going. So we'll see you that night. And thank you so much for coming on, Theresa. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I
We
appreciate
appreciate
you
what
so
you
much.
do. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Have a great time on Fort Myers Beach.
Thanks, I sure will.
All right. Theresa Everly from the Lee County Homeless Coalition. And right now, joining us live via satellite in upstate New York, Virgie Miller.
That's right.
The executive director for the
Hello,
Ding
it's good to
Darling.
be here.
And you're the executive director for the Ding Darling Wildlife Society. Is that correct?
I am, which is the Friends group supporting the federal JN Ding Darling. Yep.
Where in upstate New York are you?
Well, right now I am just visiting in upstate New York in the Allegheny County, right near the Pennsylvania state line. It's beautiful.
Go ahead.
So you guys just broke ground on something at Ding Darling, and that's why we wanted to have you on so you could kind of explain to our audience and tell us exactly what it is. You're always doing something out there. You're always creating something new out at Ding Darling. And why don't you tell us what you broke ground on?
Yeah, we're always doing something out there at the refuge, and I encourage all of your visitors and residents and listeners of your station to come visit the JN Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge. It's right on Sanibel Island. It's easy to get to, especially during the off season with the lessened traffic. But yeah, we have a new project that just is getting underway called The Roost. And it is going to be an outdoor pavilion that is right outside the Visitor and Education Center. And it's going to be an amazing outdoor pavilion, kind of a flex space for different types of programming and all kinds of programming. Free, open to the public all the time. And the programs are always free that we'll be having there during the times that the refuge is open. And it's an exciting project.
Now, are you going to have some educational opportunities and then some like meditation type stuff? Is that what I was reading?
Oh, yeah. So that's what's so unique about this roost, and we're calling it the roost because it's just kind of it has this sense of being a safe place to come and rest and relax and be a part of something fun outdoors amongst nature and kind of start your experience at the refuge. But it will be everything. So we'll be having yoga, we'll be having meditation and mindfulness. We just at Ding Darling opened the first mindfulness trail within the national U.S. refuge system. And we'll be having music and puppet shows and art programs. I mean, Ding Darling was a Pulitzer Prize winning artist, cartoonist, editorial cartoonist. Will be photography classes. We might have speakers. We might have, you know, the opportunities of the types of programming are really endless and very fluid because the benches that will be there will be removable, and it could be a place, like you said, for yoga and meditation, or it might be for a jumping jack class for Animal Olympics for kids, or it might be a puppet show. So who knows what's going to be there.
Now, I was also reading about that the building is being designed as eco-friendly. Can you talk a little bit about all of the eco-friendly attributes of the building?
Yeah, we're trying to make it as eco-friendly as possible. There are some parts that you have to stick with for building codes and that sort of thing. But we're going to try, well, we are going to incorporate solar panels that will fully run the lights and the ceiling fans and all of that so that we can have interpretive panels, but then people can see it actually working with the solar panels. We'll have electric vehicle hookups that are run by solar panels. We'll have an electric car that'll be plugged into one of them. And then it'll be, you know, the materials that we use for the decking are all eco-friendly, and the structure around it. And then a lot of it will be interpretation as well. There's not a lot to it. honestly, other than the roof with the solar panels and the eco-friendly materials. And then we'll have some of this roost will be unroofed. It will be roofless. About 1,200 square feet there, and then under roof a little over 1,200 square feet. And then we have 3 little mini roosts, I guess. We haven't even decided what we'll call them. Maybe they'll be perches. I don't know. But those are each about 80 square feet. So there's just under 3,000 square feet of space that we'll be able to use for all sorts of things. So it's really going to be a cool facility, and one that kind of modernizes the whole look of when you're driving into the refuge. And then that will flow up to the visitor center with a kiosk welcoming people. At all kinds will all blend in together and be built in concert with one another. So it'll be nice.
You guys have coyotes over there?
We do have coyotes on the island. Yeah.
Like how,
yes, and
how
you'll
do
hear
you-
them every time sirens come by.
He's really fascinated by this whole coyote thing.
Let me tell you.
We live. I don't know why this is so fascinating.
By the way,
to you.
John Lalo says your hair looks lovely,
thank
dear.
you,
She's
John.
got a thing about her hair, Burgie. Is it Burgie or a hard G or a light G?
Your
What
hair
is-
is lovely.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I pay a lot of money for that hair, by the
No,
way.
you don't.
So,
you don't.
is parking available? We have a question from one of our fine viewers. Is parking available at Ding Darling?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you do have the bridge toll to go through, but once you come onto the
$600.
island, when you get to the refuge, parking is free. And you can come into the free visitor and education center, which is open 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it's an amazing center with lots of interactive exhibits for kids and adults, with a great nature store. Then we also have the nation's best restrooms. I don't know if the two of you have been out there, but you could fix your beautiful hair in the mirrors inside our nation's best restrooms. And they are
Back
pretty
up, back up.
phenomenal. And they're
Back
up
up.
there at the visitor center as well.
Time out.
Oh,
Time out.
time out.
Time out.
Okay.
Yeah. The nation's best bathrooms. Now you need to define that, because I go to the bathroom a lot. I've been to a lot of bathrooms, and how do you rate your bathroom as being the best one?
Well, we actually entered a nationwide contest through some bath. It starts with now I can't even think of it, but it's a major bathroom cleaning company, and nationwide these restrooms around the country enter, and then you have to be voted upon. And there were some pretty cool bathrooms up against us, but I'm telling you, if you've not been there, you need to go to the restrooms. It is a wasted opportunity with blank white walls, and we made it where it is. You get to the restroom and there's 3D, pelicans diving from the ceiling and an alligator's belly. And then you walk into the restrooms and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that you say it's a wasted opportunity. I bet you that pun right there went right over everybody's head. Not over my head, though, Burgie. Not over my head.
Yeah.
Now,
you got that one.
Can you guarantee there's no manatee poop anywhere in the bathrooms or anywhere around the facility? Because that apparently is a problem.
Well, the bathrooms are amazing and you need to get into the restrooms, but we also have along Indigo Trail, which is a wonderful walking trail. So you get to the free parking, you go up to the free visitor and education, you start, you're there. Then you'll have this wonderful new roost in the outdoor pavilion, which is open, it's accessible. It'll be a phenomenal space as well. And then you can go out and explore even more. When you take the Indigo Trail, that'll take you to the Education Boardwalk, where when you get out in nature, there's always something you're going to see. And then along that Indigo Trail, we actually have artificial scat, and you'll find real scat as well, but there's artificial poop panels that these kids can learn about what animals leave behind. They may not see the animals in the wild, but they can certainly find their scat and their trails. And it's one of these things, Ed, where if that's what turns a young kid on to wanting to get out into nature and to learn about nature and to get that little aha moment, that's what we need to do. We need to find reasons for them to get off of their
Right.
computers and
Right.
get off of their phones and get outside.
I don't think he knew what scat was until you went through that
Thank you
explanation.
for
So
clarifying.
thank you for that.
Appreciate that.
You know, I also want to say that there's an amazing drive that people can go out there as well. I mean, there is a charge for it, but I can tell you folks, it is well worth the price of admission to go on that drive. There's lots of trails, just some amazing sights out there.
It is. And I always like to encourage people. Like I said, every day is a new adventure and you never know what you're going to see. The times along Wildlife Drive is the best times is at low tide. And you can get those times by calling our main number because the beach low tides are different from the low tides at the refuge. But just like you said, it's a phenomenal drive and you can take your car down it. You can get a narrated tram tour through Tarpon Bay Explorers, or you can ride your bicycle or walk and hike. And it's a cool experience. And I would, like you said, encourage people. And if you're 60, I think 62 and a half and older, you can get the senior pass, where that's good for any federal land anywhere in the country. Oh, there you go, Ed. And otherwise, it's $10 for a carload of people. So when they come from the beach, and they want to break and come to Sanibel Island, they can pile in their car and it's $10 for everybody in their car to go through the drive. It's a bargain.
All I can think about when you say that is like Jed Clampett with the car and 95 people in there going through there and Granny
They'd
sitting
be
up top.
allowed, There are rules of the road. They have to follow the normal state highway rules of the road. So that may not be able to pass.
So anything else you want to get out there? When are you guys, when is the roost expected to be completed?
Yeah, so the Roost, this new outdoor pavilion, and if people want to learn more about it, I would encourage them to check our website and you'll probably have it, but it's dingdarlingsociety.org. It's a $1.2 million project. We have almost all of it raised. We still need to raise about another $125,000 to get all of the solar panels, to get the EV hookups, to get that electric car. So there are things that we can do later if we don't raise it all, but the big project was kicked off. We are building it now, and then we hope to cut the ribbon in January of 2023. So this coming January, which is exciting. You guys will have to come for the ribbon cutting.
Oh, we'd love to.
January 2023? Wow, that's right around the corner.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and I'm guessing you're on vacation or visiting, but you don't need to tell me your personal stuff unless you want to tell me what you do.
Yeah, I'll be back on the island next week. So
awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll stay in touch with everybody there. They've been great to us, giving us information, and we'll continue to get the news out and get out there when you guys do the grand opening.
Yeah, we would
do
love
a show
to
out
go
there
down there and do the ribbon
that's
cutting.
great. Anytime you guys want to come out, you give us a holler, and we'll even let you have a private tour of the restrooms if you'd like, Ed. So we'll get you out there.
You have a great weekend. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Well, that was fabulous. She was awesome.
The competitions for the bathroom.
I love that idea though, because that
beach. Best beach bathroom.
I don't think they should do that on the beach, because all you hear about is that you hear horror stories of the bathrooms on the beach because drunk people,
they're fine.
Drunk people use bathrooms that when they're not customers, and other things happen in bathrooms that shouldn't happen when they're not customers. So maybe the south end of the beach. But I wanted to bring up a couple of things, Steve, before we signed off for the evening, because there's some things came up during this first show that I wanted to ask you about, like the Lover's Key thing, like they closed Lover's Key because they couldn't figure out that there was manatee poop somewhere. Like, you close an entire beach during a holiday weekend because of manatee poop. Like, don't you?
Well, they didn't know what it. My understanding is that they didn't know what it was. So in an abundance of caution,
I know, but let me finish what I'm saying.
But a lot of I mean, that's pretty. Beaches don't often get closed.
I know, but let me finish what I'm saying. So you have a holiday weekend. You have like a gigantic state of people. The state of Florida, the state of Florida. I see. The state of Florida's got like
Mark, it's Ed's problem.
let me see if we could fix it this way. It's
The state of Florida has what?
like
And there go the dogs,
the
guys.
state of Florida is like overflowing with money. Like everybody's moving to Florida from all the crazy liberal states. So the state of Florida has so much money. You think they can employ at least one Department of Health person at a state, the second most popular state park, just in case a manatee poops and the guy has to diagnose that it's manatee poop.
Well, for clarification, I think it was FDEP that closed the beach.
Well, that's the other thing that's confusing.
Yes, it is
Well,
confusing.
yeah, but the Florida Department of Health is the organization that has to determine whether it's human. I mean, would you really close a beach if it's human poop? Like,
Yes, that is not healthy to be swimming around.
but you don't think people are going in the water and going to the bathroom? I mean,
Dogs are pooping.
well, probably not. Dog Beach is like it's like so close to Lover's Key. We never go to Dog Beach anymore because of what we saw. We went once with our dogs because of what was going on in the water from the dogs. They never closed the beach. They should have closed the beach that one day. There was one dog that was so sick.
Yeah.
I mean, he was sick everywhere, and he wasn't sick up front. He was sick in the back.
Let's hope that people are more respectful.
I'm just saying, you can't have one state employee on duty just in case there's some duty they need to inspect. Anyway, so I think Lover's Key is back open now. They finally opened it yesterday. They opened it. Yes, I believe they did open it. Why are you hesitating on that? So what did you think of the first show? What's your conclusion?
You did give you maybe a 6 out of 10.
For what? Lining up the guests or what? What am I getting graded on here? What do I need to? Yeah, you're right, Susan. It's still kind of. I mean, there should be a place where you can take your dogs to have fun, but I mean, you should only be allowed to take trained dogs. Like the dogs shouldn't run in the water and take a shit. That's what they. I mean, that's where you got to be like, okay, I'm out of here. I mean, just because. I don't know. I didn't even think
this is where the show deteriorates.
I didn't even think it was because I thought the other dogs were going to get sick. It was just like, wow, that's gross. I don't want to be around that. But
did you have something else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I wanted to let everybody know that we're going to be on every Friday in our home studio, as you can see.
I don't know who took that really cool picture.
I know you took the picture. We have somebody that made the logo for us. We are going to get new shirts. You see, we're going to create a few episodes first before we get new shirts, but we're going to be doing this every Friday. And, eventually we hope to be able to do a show like maybe downtown Fort Myers or in a place where there's a live audience, because it's a lot more fun to do it in front of a live audience. But our guests were great. Thank you to Jason Jones
for the dog in the back.
Thank you to Jason Jones for coming on, and Theresa Everly from the Lee County Homeless Coalition. You going to say anything? Go ahead. I love it when you say something.
Thank everybody who showed up, who came on and made a comment for our, first show here. It was very nice.
Yeah. And we'll have to work out the kinks. You've got a lot of stuff to work on because you're not really, I was hoping this could be a show where you're a little more relaxed, where you're not afraid to say what's really on your mind, because the minute that we hang up the phone and hang up the show, you start to be yourself.
Anything.
Right. So you want me to get controversial guests? Is that what you're saying? Get more controversial guests? Thank you, Susan. We're going to give Susan a bell. Thank you very much.
The guests were great. I really appreciate that.
No, really. So check this out, everybody. Next week we have say that. Next week we have the new owners of the Christmas store coming on from Gulf Coast. That's going to be cool. I know they're open not 24 hours a day, but they're open, what do you say? 52 weeks out of the year. Like how many? 364 days. No, so they just opened, or they're opening in Gulf Coast, so we're going to have those guys on. But we're also going to mix in some controversial people and some politicians. Like I would like to get Cecil on. I want to get Cecil on because he lives in Gateway and he's the chairman of the board, and it would be nice to have him on. He's running for his seat. I don't even know if he's running against anybody. Is he running against the lady we had on the other show? Is she running against him, or is she running against
No, he's not running.
Bryant? Yeah, Cecil's running. Yeah.
But she's not running against them.
Is she running? Oh, she must be running against who is she running against? Who knows? Who's she running against? Mike, why are you whispering? You can say Mike Greenwell's name. You're not allowed to say Mike Greenwell's name. You're not sure you're pronouncing it correctly. Is that what you're saying?
I just want to make sure I'm correct.
All right.
Obviously wrong over the king thing, but
Yeah.
I
By the
was
way,
really
yes,
sensitive about that.
Prince Charles did become the king the minute. Now let's figure this one out. If Prince Charles happens to have an accident and die, or die of old age or whatever, who's next? Who's next in line? Very nice. What's his name? Prince. It's the guy that's not married to the crazy witch with the podcast now. What's her name? The one that thinks she's, she thinks she's an actress or something, and she pulled him away from Britain. And so it's the other guy. I think the other guy, the son, which one is he? Prince what? He's
Charles.
No. Charles is the king now. William. I think William is going to be a better king. Like I don't mean this in a strange kind of way, but he's a good-looking younger guy, and he seems to be towing the line. Charles got divorced and went out on his wife and the whole thing, and I think the William guy is going to be, more of a, hopefully Charles isn't in there very long. Maybe, he has an accident, or I'm just kidding about that. Maybe, he's 73 already. He comes into office at 73. I know. What's perplexing to me is how all these people live to be like, she lived to be 96, and the presidents of the United States live on like a long time now. Most of them. It's not like Russia where they were dying in their 50s and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm sure there's some shenanigans going on there. So who are you going to vote for in November?
I'm telling you, when you expose my vote, I'm not sharing it with you anymore.
You mean Denise Nystrom?
Yeah.
I see. Well, we did invite Denise on to our other show on Saturday. We're still waiting for her to respond to us. Of course, Brendan Leslie probably screwed that up with all the crap that he said about her last weekend on that show. So we had to call her up and apologize and tell her we weren't going to ambush her and the whole thing. But hopefully she'll come on. Yeah. Anything you want to say to your 9 fans?
Just want to thank everybody for joining us. And yes, Debbie.
What was Debbie's question? Ready for a
statement.
And we'll be back every Friday night at 5:00. We think from our.
Back 23rd.
Where are you going on the 23rd? I see. Where are you going in Texas? You have a wedding to go to.
Celebrate one of my best friends from high school's son is getting married. So.
I love Austin, Texas.
I'm wearing the dress that I got.
Now let me shut this music off for a second. Now, the reason that my wife is going to the wedding, or no, let me change this. She's running every day, like every morning at 6:00. The alarm goes off, and she runs like 5 miles. She wasn't running 5 miles before she was invited to a wedding without me. She's going to a wedding, and what dress did you get at the beach, by the way? What was that about?
You have been invited. Second of all, I'm only running 3 miles. And third of all, I'm only running every other day because I'm in hopes of seeing the coyotes that are out there.
So don't try and change the subject with the coyotes. So you decide all of a sudden you're like a runner. You're like a marathon runner. So you get up
sudden at
6:00. Well, you weren't running every day before you were invited. How many old boyfriends are coming to the wedding?
0.
Oh, come on. All right. How many old friends from high school are coming to the wedding?
4.
4 friends from high school?
Yep.
So when you go, so you're running to go to this wedding where you're going to see friends from high school. When you go to this, come on, ask a question. Back up the train. Oh, please. Come on. Yeah, because you're gigantic. So when you go to this wedding, will you be looking at people and saying to yourself or somebody else, wow, she got really heavy?
No, it's the son's wedding.
Well, still, you're gonna see
Yeah, but I'm only seeing my best friends from high school, and
how they looking.
we never did that. And
Oh,
it's
okay. You're the only one in
you were
America
so
then.
superficial. No, not with
Me?
your friends.
You don't do that with your friends? You do that
wow.
with your enemies? I mean, who do you do that with?
I don't do anyone, but clearly it's on your mind.
All right. All right, back to the music, everybody. We will see you 1 week from tonight at 5:00 with the Christmas store. Everybody loves Christmas
Yes. And New Year's,
and New Year's,
Valentine's Day.
Thanksgiving, and Ed's birthday on October 10th. Hey, say it with me. Bye-bye.